Oh, wow. Nope. Free advertising. Never want to do that. So, again, I have to adjust this. So, legendaries. Quick little educational thing about legendaries. In vanilla WoW or classic WoW, whatever you want to call it, there were two. There were two legendaries that you could get. One, Sulfuris, the hand of Ragnaros. So Ragnaros' big epic hammer. You want that thing. That you see someone with Ragnaros' hammer, you know that they're badass. How would you get it? Really interesting. You had to have a maxed out blacksmith. And then you had to go into, I believe, Blackrock Depths while they had an item called a Sulfuron Ingot, which is a drop off of raid bosses in Molten Core and Blackwing Lair. And possibly, I don't want to say in Ixia's Lair. I mean, that was turned into an 80 raid. I don't know if it dropped in there. But, so the ingot would drop. If you have one of those in your inventory, you can go into Blackrock Depths and talk to this goblin, who will then give you either a quest or an ability to buy the plans for the Sulfuron Hammer. Now, the Sulfuron Hammer takes Heart of Fire, which drops in Molten Core. It takes probably Fiery Essence or something, a bunch of Molten Core vents, okay? Plus, it takes Dark Iron Bars, and we'll get to that in a second. And then it takes Sulfuron Ingots. And then after you make that, it also takes rare drops, like really, really rare, like 0.8% chance of dropping from one of the, like, I want to say maybe 12 of these guys are in Molten Core. Maybe 12 big hunking dudes are in Molten Core that drops the other thing that you need called the Blood of the Mountain. Now, let's see, get all the drops. What do you do? I mean, what's Dark Iron Ore? Dark Iron Ore is something that can be mined from Blackrock Depths or Molten Core. But you may notice that you can't really learn how to smelt it into a bar. Well, that's because you would have to go to Blackwing Lair, which is the raid after Molten Core. You'd have to go there with a priest who could mind control this one boss and then have it teach your miner how to smelt the ore into a bar. Then you would take 24 bars, which I believe was about 48 ore, and give them to the blacksmith. The blacksmith would then forge the hammer, which is a BOE, and then you'd kill Ragnaros, and hope that, or if someone already had the legendary drop, the Eye of Sulfuris, you would use that on the hammer, it would turn into the legendary. Now, to get to Molten Core in the first place, to get this legendary, you would go through like ZG, Zolomon, like the blue, like to get to rating back then, it was nothing like it is now. You would need tier 0. What tier 0 is pretty much the blue items that would drop from the level 55 raids, like Blackrock Spire. So rogues would go in there for Shadowcraft. And then I think the other one was Beast Stalker. I'm not sure if that was it. I know Giant Stalker was removed. Giant Stalker and Beast Stalker, I think. For hunters, like everyone had gear removed, or most of the gear removed, surprisingly, because you don't ever see a pally going around with a might set. They go around with judgment. Every single pally has a judgment set, except for mine, because I don't need it. So, how would you do all of this? I mean, the attunement for the raids. I mean, ZG and everything, they were fine. They were 20-man raids, which would get you geared up for Molten Core. If you go into Molten Core, to see Ragnaros, or Ragnaros, however you want to say it, would be a fucking chore, dude. You'd have 40 people, and you could do the entire raid with 25. For Molten Core, you could do the entire raid with 25 people, and that would essentially be it. I mean, you'd only have about a handful of people that were taking everything seriously, and the other knobheads would be like, I got a pirate hat, woo. The amount of difficulty in these raids as well, which I'll get into in a different video, is highly obscure. So you have Sulfuris, and what is Thunder Fury? What is Thunder Fury? This awesome sword that would always be given to tanks, or if it was a really corrupt loot system, even a rogue. Because we all know back then that rogues and hunters were the top people to do the whole, that's my gear, over anything. Except for Corehound's Tooth. If a Rogue didn't get that, someone was going to get ninja or screwed over. Ghosted is how they say it now. Anyways, what you would do for Thunder Fury. There's a chance for an item to drop off of one of two bosses. Now you'd have to get the drop from both of these bosses, I believe Baron Geddon and Gar, in Molten Core, and you would combine the item, collect mats similar to Sulfuris, and you would end it all with fighting a giant world boss. I believe it was Alakir, or Alakir's son, the one that the Thunder Fury is basically made from. And your raid would kill him, and then you would get the Blessed Blade. The proc was amazing. People were using these legendaries until about 65 back in TBC. So TBC, what legendaries were there in TBC? The first legendary set. Oh my god, how many rogues and warriors screwed people over for these items is absolutely ridiculous. The Warglaives of Azeroth. People still farm them today because those weapons are amazing. They are absolutely amazing and everyone loves them because they look so awesome. You'd have to get both of them, which was weird because the drop rate for one was significantly lower than the other. So you would have people farming Black Temple forever. And then, it's just a drop. Unlike Thunder Fury and Sulfuris, you didn't have to craft it. You just have to hope that it drops off of Illidan, the last boss in TBC, which if you didn't have a warrior tank for, you were pretty much screwed for the sheer ability. I had to say it. Warriors were the only viable tanks in the first two expansions. No, first expansion and then classic if you want to be technical. So the second legendary, not Thunder Fury. I think it was Thoradal, the Star's Fury. Now, the thing about this legendary is it was back when everyone could use ranged items. So warriors and that had ranged slots, rogues had ranged slots, and all that fun stuff. But it would be really, really, really important for a hunter. Not because of its stats, but there wasn't even a special proc on this thing, okay? Thoradal Star's Fury was basically no ammo. It was back when everyone needed ammo for the ranged weapons, and hunters, had 2 spells or 3 spells, however it was in TBC. And Thunder Fury, I keep wanting to say Thunder Fury, Thoradal dropped, and so they wouldn't need ammo anymore, but it was at the end of the expansion. I mean, Nax Rammus in Classic WoW didn't have a legendary, so you had something to use legendaries on. In a few guilds, there was a hunter, and when the bow dropped, the hunter would be like, no, you can give it to a rogue. We've killed everything. There's nothing for us to use it on. We killed the boss. So legendaries are supposed to be used for progression. So in Wrath of the Lich King, what did we get? We got 2. We got Valinir and then Shadowmourne. And I've got to say, the way to get these things led into the crap that Cataclysm brought, and then the utter shitstorm that is Miss Pandaria. So to get Valinir, small quest line, tons of farming for these shards or fragments that drop from the bosses. You'd need about 25 fragments to drop from the 8 or 9 bosses in Old War. It might have been 12, I'm not sure, not really paying attention. I didn't play it around. Then for Shadowmourne, oh my god, that quest chain was ridiculous. Recently helped out a guildie with it, and 6 hours. It took us 6 hours for us to figure out what we needed to do for the quest, figure out what we needed for the freaking boss fight, what we had to do special, he needed to be turned into a vampire on the Blood Queen and then fight 3 people. Yeah, that was fun. And then you turn that in, you beat the Lich King, and you get an item that would ultimately be upgraded to Shadowmourne. Valinir was a healer item, the first healing legendary, more or less. And then Shadowmourne, the ultimate 2-handed axe. So you would need not 25 fragments, but 12. 12 fragments from Icecrown Citadel, the last raid of the expansion. And you may think, oh, you need 50. 50 shards from ICC. 10 or 25, man. to get this Shadowmourne legendary. And when you got it, you were rightly rewarded. No one can argue that you were not rightly rewarded for getting that legendary, because as soon as you kill the Lich King, after you have the legendary, drops a chest. That drops a tabard, a mount, and a few other little random things that now sell for hundreds of thousands of gold. And back then, GDKP runs were especially interesting if you had someone with Shadowmourne and they were willing to give up their items free for roll to be able to get money. Then in Cataclysm, we had, at first, Legendary Staff, which another guildie is working on. And again, you had to collect certain things during boss fights and do these fights in a certain way. And you would get an item that you would eventually upgrade into the legendary. And this legendary had fun. It had a proc, but it also allowed you to turn into a mount, which was awesome. And then the Fangs of the Father in Dragon Soul, the first class-specific legendary. Not hunter, rogue legendary, okay? A rogue set of daggers. This was fun because the quest chain wasn't just, oh, go in this raid, do these bosses like this. No, you would be outside of the raid doing stuff specific to your class, using smoke bomb, using stealth, going around and everything, ultimately meeting Wrathion, the son of Deathwind. Then you would kill bosses in raids, get your items upgraded, and then you'd go kill Deathwind, get his jaw, get your legendaries. Again, end of the game progression, nothing to use that legendary on. And if you were in Dragon Soul Heroic, you'd kill Hagera, get that staff, and you'd be like, well, I don't need to go to Firelands for my legendary. Not really a way to talk people to going in back there anymore. Then that's pretty much it. I mean, those daggers were awesome. I think they had to nerf them slightly with Mist Pandaria because they were glitched out so badly in beta they could kill someone in less than a second. Then, in Mist Pandaria, what did we get as legendary? We got a first time thing ever. We got a cloak. But this wasn't a cloak that would be revealed at the beginning. No. This cloak was not something that you would know that you were getting. In patch 5.0, I believe it was, you would be graced to get the Shaw-Touched gem, which would only go into a Shaw-Touched item, which dropped in the new LFRs. To get them, you needed 10 sigils of power and 10 sigils of wisdom, which only dropped from those raid bosses, which you could do LFR on every boss. And then you could get the Shaw-Touched weapons from Heart of Fear and Tears of the Endless Spring. Congrats, you have the weapons and the thing. I mean, it's LFR gear, it's crap, but people still use those gems in that weapon. Because at that point, some people only do LFR because they're stupid and come up with lame excuses. And then the next patch came. And with the next patch, it's like, okay, well, it's 5.1. We get to go slightly further with it. We get to have them do PvP. Have them go 3,000 valor. It's fine. They're moving forward. Then in patch 5.2, the Thunder King. You would have to collect Secrets of the Empire. Now, what were these Secrets of the Empire? They were items that would drop from each boss in Throne of Thunder. Only one boss was a guaranteed drop each week. So you needed 12 possible bosses, one guaranteed per week. Some people were able to get them in 2 weeks with luck. Others took months. I'm in the latter category. I think it took me 2 months to get them all on my monk, actively working towards it. And then along with the Secrets of the Empire, you would also need 40 trillion bars, which if you weren't a miner going out and getting the ore or using your spirits on the ore, then you were kind of screwed. They were really expensive back then. Basically because of how Living Steel was working, and you would get the belt buckle and everything, which was brand new, not a lot of people had it. So, after you get the secrets and you get the trillion, what do? You have to unlock the Thunder Forge, go through a few scenarios and everything, just like when you did when you opened up the Isle of Thunder. Then you'd have to go through certain ones with Wrathion, kill some little mini bosses, then you go into the forge, make the spear, go to a world boss, throw the spear, run away. Hopefully you were in a group that was killing them, so that way you wouldn't have aggro while you're trying to run away from this ad of death that will kill you. Then, while you're doing this, it would die, you would get the spear, you'd go to Rathion, he would give you the Crown of Heaven, a legendary metagem. Procs are pretty cool, especially a tank one. Tank one saved me his DPS a lot. Great proc rate. And then after that, 12 Titan Runestones. Same thing, go through TOT. One guaranteed per week, but, here's the fun part, but you'd only get off the last 2 wings. So if you were doing normal, you'd need to full clear. If you're doing LFR, you just run the last 2 wings. After you get them, you go and you face the trials. One of the trials, like there's 4. There's range DPS, melee DPS, healing, and tanking. And then he would give you an item level 600 best in slot epic cloak. Yeah, that's where this is heading. Next patch, 5.3. 5.3 is where we got the cloak, I believe, actually. Then 5.4, oh look, legendary cloak's going to be available? Awesome, what do I have to do? Kill these 4 world bosses that everyone's killing hours within the patch release. Because they were nerfed so hard right before release, it was pathetic. And now they scale with the people fighting them. So even a 10-man group can kill these guys. So what do I get? You kill all 4 bosses. You get a chance at a tier piece from 1 boss each week. So if you kill Yulon, then Zune, only Yulon will drop the gear. So I was like, okay, well, I get a chance at gear, plus I get credit towards an achievement and a quest to get my legendary. You kill all 4, get your legendary, choose it, go through some really cool RP, and a really cool thing of using the special item on your cloak, turning it legendary, and sprouting black wings for a second. Then after you got this legendary, what do you do with it? Well, you use it, and you can now cross a bridge to go face another boss that drops raid level gear. Normal, Warforged, raid level gear. Yeah, that's what you get with the legendary. And then that's all there really is to it. It's again, it's an end of the expansion. This was the only expansion with 1 legendary. They can argue and say, oh, you got multiple legendaries through this. No, you got a gem that you could only use in certain weapons. To be honest, the gem shit. Jewel crafters already have access to a gem like it. What was the other one? The meta gem, which is awesome, but in Warlords of Draenor they're getting rid of. What will Warlords of Draenor bring? Will it bring another cloak or another stupid piece of gear? No, I want to see class-specific items. They were already talking about doing a lot of stuff with paladins. So paladin item, I'd be fine with. Shamans, they were talking about shamans too. Shaman item? Totally. A legendary that makes you feel legendary, because epics have lost everything. They're all LFR is watered down epics. You can see someone in full epics, it doesn't mean anything. You can see someone with a legendary, it just means that they put in the time and they have luck. But back in the day, if you saw someone with Thunder Fury, you're like, oh my god, that guy, he's awesome. Back in the day, you saw someone decked out in even Molten Core epics. You had a little bit of respect for him. Nowadays, it's like you don't have a legendary, you're not going to raid. And that's really bad. The apathy is still there, guys. The apathy is, you're allowed to be bad. It's fine. So, that's about it. Legendaries, I want to see a really good one next expansion. They've ruined it, really, with all these quest chains and hoping for random drops. No, go through something epic. Go through something epic again, man. And yeah, you can say, oh, well, making Sulfur on Hammer wasn't epic. No, it was, because of the scope of that boss. And then, not only would you kill that boss, you stole his hammer. That's essentially what you did. You have the hammer of the boss. You say, well, you also get like that big version of it in Firelance. Yeah, but that's not the point. Like, well, the Fangs of the Father are Deathwing's Fangs. Yeah, those were kind of epic. Those were rogue only. Come on, man. Those items were cool. Even the bow was kind of cool. Thunder Fury. Oh my god. need to do something about it. I wish I could have experienced that. Private servers don't even have that kind of journey. Goodbye.